Hello, welcome to Tuesday's Look North. In the headlines, 7 men will be prosecuted for historic physical and sexual abuse at a County Durham detention centre.
I would describe this as phase 1. We continue with the investigation and I'm very confident that others will face prosecution in the future through next year.
Prison under pressure. Inspectors reveal HMP Northumberland is struggling with an upsurge in violence and drug taking. Club under offer. Investors bid £300 million for Newcastle United.
It's Christmas come early with it. Can't wait for Mike Ashley to sell it. It'll be once it's sold. So hopefully it is done before the Christmas and then we can get some more money in for the transfers on January.
And speaking of Christmas, why was Santa visiting his favourite shop in Morpeth today?
I'm sure we'll find out with a bit of luck. In football, a major blow for new Sunderland boss Chris Coleman ahead of his first game in charge against Aston Villa tonight. And the Falcons swap Kingston Park for St James's Park to host a rugby union spectacular.
Police investigating the alleged sexual and physical abuse of teenagers in a detention centre have announced that 7 former staff are to face charges. Inmates of the institution at Medhamsley in County Durham have made allegations dating back to the 1960s. Our correspondent Peter Harris is at Durham Police HQ now. Peter.
Well, we'll come to today's developments in a second, Carol. First of all, though, just let me set some context. Medhamsley closed nearly 30 years ago now. Now move forward to the last decade and 2 members of staff were jailed for abuse. Both of them now have since died. Forward again to 2013 and the police launched Operation Seabrook to look at further allegations. Now since then they've interviewed nearly 1,500 inmates about their experiences. They identified 32 suspects. The news today is that 7 of those people will now be prosecuted.
For decades it held teenage boys. Medhamsley was meant to be a short, sharp shock to young offenders. In recent years, though, investigations have focused on the behaviour of the staff, and now there are charges.
I would describe this as phase 1. We continue with the investigation and I'm very confident that others will face prosecution in the future through next year. We will be keen to hear from anybody else who wants to come forward now in confidence and we will support them through this process into the future.
Today's announcement comes after a 4-year police operation, one of the largest of its kind in the UK.
Of the 7 facing court, all face charges of misconduct in a public office and physical abuse allegations. 4 of them will also face charges relating to alleged sexual abuse.
Medhamsley Detention Centre closed in 1988. Sometimes the crimes that brought people here were relatively minor. Lawyers for former inmates welcome today's development.
It's the start of a recognition that these things may well have happened and in their view did happen. It's a very, very welcome day.
The police say more Medhamsley staff could yet face charges. 7 men will appear before Newton Aycliffe magistrates next month.
Given that these are historic allegations, it's perhaps no surprise to learn that at least 1 of the complainants has since died. The next key step then in this investigation is those court appearances the week before Christmas. Carol.
Thank you, Peter. The firm running Northumberland Prison has received a damning report from prison inspectors. They say drugs and violence are growing problems in the jail near Acklington, which is run by private firm Sodexo. Tonight, one former prison officer at the jail says the government must urgently take back control. Here's our news correspondent Mark Denton.
Behind its fences and wire, HMP Northumberland houses 1,300 prisoners. It's been run by a private company, Sodexo, for 4 years. Last July, inspectors paid an unannounced visit here. Their conclusions are damning. The inspectorate described its last report on this prison 3 years ago as fairly critical. The latest one today is a detailed catalogue of faults inside here, from prisoners feeling unsafe to cells not being of a sufficient standard. But the fundamental problem, drugs.
The high level of positive drug tests on prisoners, which came up to 34%, so shows that they're not just telling us that they've acquired a drug habit. There are far too many prisoners in the jail with access to drugs.
The report says the prison did have a drugs reduction strategy, but the simple fact was that it was clearly not working. Violence was also highlighted in the report. The 2014 inspection recorded 60 violent incidents at the prison. The latest report identifies 142. There were 29 assaults on staff as well, and all told, violence at the prison presented a grim picture. While the report says Sodexo management are making committed efforts to improve things and have established a successful unit for older prisoners, all this is worrying for people living in Acklington, the small village next to the prison. Colin worked as a prison officer at the jail for 20 years. He was never assaulted by a prisoner. He says staffing is now a problem.
The only way anybody could make money at the prison as regards running it is to cut down staff levels. The government's going to have to take it over again. There's no way any private company can run a prison.
Well, Mark's with me now. Mark, what does the firm running the prison say today then?
Well, Carol, Sodexo say they are working hard to tackle both drugs and violence. They do point out that they're not the only prison that has problems with those issues. But essentially, they say they're doing three things. They've got a dedicated violence teams to tackle problems like that. They have more drugs testing. They're putting more CCTV cameras in as well. The Ministry of Justice say they're working with the director of the prison there to address some of the problems that came up in that prisons inspectorate report today.
OK, Mark, thank you. A formal bid's been made for Newcastle United, which is understood to be in the region of £300 million. A financial firm headed by North Yorkshire businesswoman Amanda Staveley has been in talks with club owner Mike Ashley for about a month. Fans have welcomed the bid, but it's well short of Ashley's asking price of £400 million. Steph Cleesby reports.
Businesswoman Amanda Staveley, seen here at Newcastle's home match against Liverpool earlier this season, emerged as the favourite to buy Newcastle United once it was put up for sale by Mike Ashley last month after 10 years in charge at St James's. But her £300 million offer falls significantly short of Ashley's valuation.
We obviously know that he's after more around the region of £400 million, so be interesting to see where this all goes. She is a shrewd negotiator. She's obviously got a wealth of good contacts out in the Middle East. She was responsible for bringing Sheikh Mansour to Man City. We know that she tried to get a hold of Liverpool before Fenway invested in the club. So she's obviously got a keen interest in football, and she's obviously got the connections and the wealth to back that up.
Newcastle fans hope Staveley's track record in both finance and football will bring stability to the club.
It's Christmas come early with it. Can't wait for Mike Ashley to sell it up. He wants it sold. So hopefully it is done before the Christmas, and then we can get some more money in for the transfers on January.
It'd just be good to just see with someone who can maintain with the top of the top half of the table. You know, maybe pushing for Europe every season, stuff like that. And if it's the money they're talking about, who knows, you know, could be even better.
Mike Ashley's had a history of putting the club up for sale and then rejecting it. So I'll wait and see. I think I'll be happy once it goes through.
With the January transfer window looming, manager Rafa Benitez is desperate for funds to strengthen the squad.
I'm going to ask you about this offer, this £300 million for the club. Just what your thoughts on that, if any?
No, I have no any idea, because normally we are concentrated just on the game and that's it. So we don't know about the other things.
So not for your concern at the moment?
No, I can't say nothing, sorry.
Newcastle are yet to comment publicly, although a club source has disputed the value of the bid, which is rumoured to be take it or leave it. Mike Ashley wants the club off his hands by Christmas, but it remains to be seen whether this opening bid is large enough to persuade him to sell. Steph Cleesby, BBC Look North, Newcastle.
Now, ahead of tomorrow's budget, the Mayor of the Tees Valley has asked the Chancellor for £100 million, cash that could be used to help clean up the former Redcar steelworks. The plant's at the heart of a massive regeneration site being marketed by a new development corporation with the Mayor at its head. About 60 companies have shown an interest in moving onto the site, but decades of industrial use have left it contaminated. Our business correspondent Ian Reeve reports.
Tees Valley's mayor has a vision of what Redcar's former steelworks could become. It's part of a bigger 4,500 acre site south of the River Tees and awaiting redevelopment. It could support 20,000 jobs, but the mayor says it needs £100 million to kickstart its regeneration, and he's looking to the Chancellor to supply it in tomorrow's budget.
I can guarantee that I've had no contact from any minister saying that I'm going to get this money. I'm here to make sure I stand up for the people of Teesside. I think this money is the right thing to do. I've had very positive soundings from officials and some ministers to say that they do back our plans, but until I see the colour of their money, you know, it's not good enough, because ultimately warm words don't put food on the table and they don't create jobs, whereas actually the Chancellor has an opportunity tomorrow to really show that it backs the people of Teesside.
It is a lot of money, and many causes fight to catch the Chancellor's attention, but it has been promised before.
It's much better just to make it clear that the central government will pay the clean-up costs and underwrite them, whatever the bill comes to.
Redcar businessman Paul says the cash could jump-start the town's economy, still suffering post the closure of the steelworks.
There's phenomenal potential in Redcar. Look, if you just have to look at it, right? We're in a prime position. We've got the North York Moors, we've got a race course, we've got a beach, we've got a good selection of local businesses. What's there not to like about Redcar?
Mayor Ben, businessman Paul, and the rest of us can see whether the Chancellor gives Redcar something to raise a glass to from lunchtime tomorrow. Ian Reeve, BBC Look North.
We'll be speaking to Ben Houchen at Westminster after the budget tomorrow, once he's learned if he has his £100 million. It affects many millions, possibly billions, around the world. Up to a third of the global population is affected by non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and currently there are no early diagnostic tests. But Newcastle University's won a £30 million contract to develop the world's first test for early liver disease. The pioneering project will bring together doctors, scientists from across Europe and some of the world's largest pharmaceutical companies. Here's our health reporter, Sharon Barber.
It's a staggering fact that many of us, millions of us, don't know that we're living with liver disease.
There's this common misunderstanding that all liver disease is related to alcohol. The reality is that non-alcoholic fatty liver disease associated with being overweight or high cholesterol is actually a far more common cause of liver disease in the United Kingdom, across Europe and indeed worldwide.
And despite the fact that up to 30% of the people on the planet potentially living with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, there's no test for it. And for patients like Yvonne, that means hers wasn't picked up until her liver was badly damaged.
If a blood test had been available, it would have meant I wouldn't have had all these years of worry, late treatment, but I could have had earlier treatment, earlier diagnosis, earlier treatment, which would have meant a better prognosis for me, a better life for me.
But scientists at Newcastle University have now won a crucial bid worth more than £30 million to develop the world's first liver disease test.
Without treatment, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease can end with cirrhosis, an increased risk of liver cancer. It's also a marker of a greater risk of heart attack or stroke. And so the Litmus project is there to develop and validate new tests. How much inflammation is there? How much scarring is there? Is this person likely to come to harm in the longer term?
Over the next 5 years, they'll work with doctors and scientists across Europe and with some of the world's largest pharmaceutical companies to develop the test. Sharon Barber, BBC Look North.
Now, a little bit of sad news we've just received. Rodney Bewes, best known for his part in the BBC's North East comedy The Likely Lads, has died at the age of 79. He'd been an actor for more than 60 years. His agent said he was a brilliant storyteller with an anecdote for every occasion. Sad news indeed. Now, we all know about the benefits of playing sport, but for people with dementia, recalling their memories of sport can be hugely beneficial as well. Well, a charity based in North Yorkshire called Sporting Memories is doing just that, and as Phil Connell reports, they've received some unexpected help from one of the biggest names in football.
Yes,
You're right.
Pelé.
It is Pelé. It is Pelé.
He's widely regarded as the world's greatest ever footballer, and 30 years since retiring, these personal photographs of Pelé have been given to a special project called Sporting Memories. Based in North Yorkshire, it helps those with dementia to recall their own sporting past.
Brazil always the yellow with the little green and blue bits on it.
Since Vin was diagnosed with dementia, he and his wife Chris have been regulars at this group in Northallerton.
Somebody knows a little bit about something and it just draws everybody together to talk about it because it brings back memories, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. It does, yeah.
So what's it been like reminiscing about a footballer like Pelé?
It's very good, isn't it?
It is.
Because it makes you think back, try to think back. And old memories stay. New memories don't, but the old memory just needs a jog and it comes along.
It's incredible because football and Pelé, you know, he is the name. If you don't know a great lot more about football, you know about Pelé. So it immediately, your face will light up and everybody's got some sort of a memory of him.
Sporting Memories now has groups like this across the North East and Yorkshire, recalling not just memories of sport, but encouraging some participation too.
This is an opportunity to meet up with people living with similar situations, but using sport as that connector. Yeah, we have the most amazing history and heritage of sport across the North East. It's incredible, and we can use that to tap into people's memories and to tap into people's passions.
So sport here still has a role to play. The varied faces of a sporting legend, jogging memories and stirring footballing passions.
Certainly haven't seen that one before.
Phil Connell, BBC Look North, Northallerton.
Well, let's stay with football now, shall we? And all eyes on the Sunderland match tonight, Jeff.
Indeed, Carol, yes, big match coming up. But new Sunderland chief Chris Coleman, when he comes up against former Black Cats manager Steve Bruce at Aston Villa tonight. He's barely had time to get his feet under the table, though, before his first game in charge, and already there's bad news. The former Wales boss will be without 7 first-team players this evening, including forward Duncan Watmore, who suffered a suspected cruciate knee ligament injury just a few weeks after returning from 10 months out with the same problem. Well, Sunderland, who are at the bottom of the Championship, are without a league win since August, while Villa are 5th in the table. Coleman just wants to see some fight from his players.
I want them to be brave. I don't expect to go to Villa Park and wish our lives away for 90 minutes. You know, I expect us to go there and perform, to compete. We can't ask for too much, but then again, we don't want to be looking at receiving too little. So we know, Aston Villa are doing very well in the top 6. They're a club and a team that are expected to succeed. Bruce is doing a good job there. And all we can demand is your absolute best, your very, very best. But if you're not giving you of your best, if you're pretending to give your best, that's unforgivable. And I won't settle for that.
And there's full radio commentary as usual on BBC Newcastle. Elsewhere on BBC Cumbria, you can follow Carlisle United's progress away at Luton in League 2. And both Gateshead and Hartlepool are at home tonight in the National League. Newcastle Falcons will play their Premiership match against Northampton Saints next March at Newcastle United's St James's Park. Dubbed the Big One, the club hopes to make it an annual event with the city's university clash between Northumbria and Newcastle kicking off a huge day of rugby union. Don Thewlis reports.
As a host venue for the Rugby Union World Cup in 2015 and the home of Rugby League's Magic Weekend for the 4th year running, St James's Park's already proved it can host major rugby events. This game will be held during an international football break to try to attract fans who might not otherwise attend.
Well, we've seen other clubs do it, the likes of Harlequins and Saracens, and whenever they've taken a game to a bigger stadium, they've usually increased their average attendance by anything between 4- and 9-fold. So if we were to do that in the first year, we'd fill St James's Park. We've got slightly lower ambitions, but if we can get 20,000 plus to the first running of the Big One, it'll be a real success.
The university match, which will kick off the day, usually attracts around 5,000 supporters in its own right and should attract many more in the city centre location. It won't only be a dream come true for the students, though. Even seasoned pros like the Falcons' former England fly half Toby Flood relish the prospect of running out at St James's Park.
I think a lot of guys who grew up in the area are Newcastle United fans. There might be a few Sunderland fans, but no one really talks to them. So ultimately for us, it's about getting a chance to play here, which is pretty special. I sort of remember coming here as a young boy as well to watch a few games, and we sort of all remember that sort of entertainer era. And and now sort of the team doing back in the Premiership and doing pretty well. It's a huge opportunity for a lot of people to sort of tick off what was, well, especially on my bucket list.
And congratulations to England women's rugby captain Sarah Hunter from Newcastle, who'll win her 100th cap when she leads the team out against Canada tonight. Now, next month in Liverpool, the BBC will host its annual Sports Personality of the Year Awards, and along with the superstars, we'll be honouring our unsung heroes, the ones whose hard work often goes unnoticed. Well, we had some fantastic nominations, but one man stood out for his lifelong dedication to his local football club. These days, South Shields pull in four-figure crowds at Mariners Park. The FA Vase holders are on course for a third successive promotion. Amazing when you think that just a few years ago they nearly went out of business. And one man's been here through the bad times and the good. Richard, Jeff Brown from Look North. Just want to tell you that you have won the BBC North Eastern Cumbria Unsung Sporting Hero Award for this year.
My goodness, what wonderful.
For everything
Absolutely.
that you've done for South Shields Football Club.
Well, it's been a pleasure that whole time. It really has. Since 1945 when we started back in the North East League.
Personalities never change. He's always, doing whatever jobs he can, from putting the corner flags out to, sweeping the changing rooms, and he looks after the gate on the halfway line for when the supporters come through, and it just does an absolute myriad of jobs around the ground, and every football club needs people like Dick Bailey, and he's an absolute gem.
Without people like him, we wouldn't have survived. And he takes the pressure off everybody else, because he does the little things and leaves us to get on with our jobs.
Every time he's down, it's, again, the brush is out, he makes sure the place is spotless and just potters about, He really is a top lad.
It's only 2.5 years ago that the club was homeless, playing down in Peterlee, having to rent a pitch, and it was the likes of Dick that just kept that going with constant volunteering, and he's been involved with the club as a supporter, then as a volunteer, as a committee member now for over 70 years.
That's what football's about. You're attracted to it. You cannot change it. You just keep on going. I'm now 84, and I think that I'm only going to last as long as my legs keep going.
Fantastic. And the BBC Sports Personality of the Year is on BBC One on Sunday, December the 17th. And good luck to Richard, who's our regional representative.
I can absolutely understand why. Right, now a familiar figure appeared in Morpeth today on a special mission. Now, December is a bit busy for Santa Claus.
Yes, it is usually. So every year in November, he takes time out to get a very important job done. Jonathan Swingler went to meet him.
Facts about Santa. He lives in Lapland, he relies on reindeer for transport. And every year he comes to Morpeth to get his hair cut.
Santa baby, just slip a sable under the tree.
Good morning, boys. Hi. Father Christmas is here to see Dave.
Well, after making all the toys throughout the year, what I do is I come to Morpeth to Dave the barber's. This kind gentleman here offers to make me look handsome.
Fancy change today?
No, it's got to stay the same, because it's been like this for hundreds of years, so it would be pointless changing it now.
What about a colour change?
No, I think white's good enough. You cannot have a pink Santa or a blue Santa, can you?
It's very soft, almost like snow. He always has the same. He never, ever, ever alters. He knows what he wants, he comes in and gets what he gets.
In no time at all it's done, Santa is happy and passers-by still recognise him. It's time for Santa to go. Presents need to be wrapped and naughty lists assessed. Jonathan Swingler, BBC Look North.
Tonight.
See that there? Lovely. That's the only man that forward plans Christmas.
That's right.
Weather, Paul.
That's something I've always wondered about. Some good news to start off with. The Look North weather calendar is officially sold out. Every last copy has gone now. So thanks very much to everybody who bought a copy, and Children in Need will be thousands of pounds better off thanks to you. Now, weather-wise, it's not such good news. I think the weather watchers kind of captured the mood again today. In Keswick, the River Greta there, already quite full with the rain over the last couple of days, and there's more to come. Tomorrow looks like a wet and windy day for most of us. Saving grace maybe that it does stay on the mild side, at least in the short term. Now, there's been some more rain today. There's still bits and pieces of rain this evening, but most of that will clear away to leave a drier, clearer spell through the night. But it will be a mild night. The temperatures only dip down to about 8 or 9 Celsius at their very lowest. By the end of the night, though, the breeze is freshening up, the clouds are thickening up, and the next batch of rain is already spreading into western parts of Cumbria. And this area of rain, this weather front, is what's going to cause some problems tomorrow. I've got a couple of Met Office warnings out. They're both yellow, be aware warnings for wind and rain. Now, the wind quite generally right across the northeastern Cumbria will gust to about 50 miles per hour in many places. In exposure up over the high ground along the Cumbrian coast could be stronger still. And the rain, the warning for the rain is essentially for Cumbria and Pennine districts. So as we head through tomorrow, we keep the rain, we keep the cloud, and the heavier pulses of rain affect Cumbria on and off through the day. The further south and east you are, the dry air, you'll stay. It will be a mild day, but it will be a gusty one as well. The temperatures will peak tomorrow afternoon around about 14 Celsius. And that warning lasts right through tomorrow night as well, because I think we'll be into the early hours of Thursday before this frontal system starts to clear away and take its more persistent and heavy rain with it. Behind that, it's a bit of a mess on Thursday. Still some showers around, and then things start to settle down a little bit as we head into Friday. So it's a wet and windy day tomorrow, especially wet in the west, mild in that gusty southerly wind. Thursday sees the rain certainly more showery. It wouldn't be bone dry, there will be a few showers around, gusty winds again, and feeling that bit cooler. The temperatures only just scraping into double figures on Thursday, and that trend towards colder conditions continues as we head into Friday. We've got Friday afternoons, temperatures 6s and 7s at very best, gusty southwesterly winds, although by that time it's mostly dry and bright. If you are concerned about river levels, there are a few flood alerts in force. They'll probably change to flood warnings over the next 24 hours, and the Environment Agency will keep you posted on the flood line. Carol.
Oh, right. We really are watching that weather then.
Yeah, it could
tonight,
be quite severe, yeah.
OK, thanks for the warning. That's it from us tonight. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.